We are live. Facebook Live. How do we look tonight? I feel great.
Down the hallway. Okay, scooch moves that way.
Scooch over. What's up, awesome people? Hey, welcome to the Taste of Vermont tonight. So excited to be here. We are thrilled. We are not the. This is awesome.
So one thing we're learning as just 3 of you are on, 4 or 5. If you could let us know, is it being? Will you turn that off?
Yeah, I will.
Just a second. Is it being choppy or anything, or can you hear us clearly except for the music blaring as we're coming in? This is just our pump up music, but it will not be there.
Those first 16 of you, if you tell us if the audio is working, we talked to Mark Zuckerberg over the week and we got these things figured out, we think.
Last week it made us switch to a new platform and it was choppy every once in a while. So we want to see. We're good, Bill. Thank you, Bill.
Yes, Bill, thank you. You are awesome. What a great day.
All right.
We can hear great. Woo! We did it. We have achieved
knock on wood.
Greatness. We've broken the internet a couple times, but today we're getting it right.
We're just pumping ourselves up as people come in. Feel free to get your water, sparkling water, vino if you're drinking, or beer or cider. Let's just wait for some folks to come in.
We're halfway there.
Oh,
living on a prayer. Take my hand. We'll make it, I swear. Oh, Susie just said sounds great. I'm assuming you meant our voice, our duet there. I'm sure. That must have been it.
Hey, Matt. Welcome.
This is awesome. We are so pumped to have y'all.
So there's 38 and counting. We have 98 joining us, if I'm honest.
But that's all right.
I was too shy of meeting my goal.
We were there, and then 2 people had to back out.
But you 98 will totally make it worth it, like we have 100 and a bazillion.
100 bazillion.
You're pushing this way.
All right. I'm just feeling good. I want to be close to you tonight. I'm feeling great.
You're my space, yo.
So we're just playing some music as we wait for a few more people to show up. And then we're going to eat these beauties.
Woo. Oh, losing it. We are losing it, always.
It's going to be so good tonight. I am looking forward to this experience. Hey, Lisa. Hey,
at our wedding?
This is what we sang at our wedding.
Okay.
On the stage, on the microphone.
Yeah.
We'll make it our
I can't remember. Okay,
it was Living on a Prayer.
It wasn't Journey.
No,
it was Bon Jovi.
It could have been Journey.
Yeah.
Could have been Journey. Hey, guys. Hey, Jessica.
All right, as you're tuning in and we're waiting for folks to join, tell us what you're drinking, if you're drinking anything. I'm sure everybody's drinking something, but we can talk about water, sodas, beer, wine, cider, cocktails. We'll talk about them. Let us know. Also, let us know
some hearts.
if you're celebrating anything. We want to give some shout outs. So if you're just celebrating making it through a Wednesday, we'll take it. Feel free to let us know. And then I had one other thought. If this is your 3rd or more virtual tasting with us since COVID hit Austin, let us know. I'm going to try to have a contest and give something away. Because some of y'all, this is your first time to join us. Yay! And now you're thinking, what have we gotten into? And some of you have been with us for like 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, Sean Fogel. Hey, long high school buddy of mine. What's up, Sean? Just signed in.
All right.
For a second.
Turn off the tunes.
All right. I'll take so it doesn't go on repeat. Is that what you're saying?
Act like we've got this thing highly produced. Hello, beautiful people of Austin.
What's up? Taste of Vermont. This is going to be so much fun.
So if you didn't know it, for the month of May, each Wednesday class is dedicated to American artisan cheese. Actually, I would like to say that in April, we also did a domestic road trip and we did Taste of Texas. So we're just riding on that theme. And 1, we do it throughout the year, but 2, it's especially important to us right now. May is American Cheese Month. I serve on the board of the American Cheese Education Foundation, and our goal right now is to save the cheesemakers and save the farmers. And so without making it sad or depressing, there's a big need out there, as there are in many industries and sectors. And I have no doubt that bigger commodity food will be here after COVID, but I can't guarantee that all of our farmers and artisans will. So thank you for being here tonight. By you buying your ticket and or just tuning in, then you can know what to go buy.
And it's also Mental Health Month.
It is Mental Health Month.
Kendall just finished, she had to step off a board call for the ACGC about 1 minute before we got started.
Raise your hand if you've had Zoom calls today at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and now here we are at 6 o'clock.
But we're doing it. And now it's date night. Now we get to put our feet up. We get to relax. We've got a couple people, Kendall, that have been, this is their 6th time. Ketty has been on 6.
Okay, Ketty is currently in the lead.
Claire has been on 5.
Oh, dang, that's really close.
I would say they're both in the league. They both got the hug heart thing.
Okay, well, I'm going to give something.
Bill is drinking Tinto Verano.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Memory.
We went to Spain this last year and drank those
moonlight.
way too many nights. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I speak Spanish, and it also took me a while to understand that they were saying Tinto de Verano. And I would just be like, can I have the summer thing, the summer drink? And then I'd have a lot of summer drinks. So, okay, you guys, I think we should rock and roll. Feel like lately we
talk a lot.
We always talk a lot.
Lisa's first time for Lisa.
Woo. Okay, so if you see us looking all over the place, you are our most important thing. It's just that we have multiple screens set up. One, so we're learning every week, but we're responding to your chat on the side on a different computer. So if you have any questions, ask us. We'll try to answer them during the tasting, and if not, we will answer them later. It's usually like a bathtub appointment afterwards. We'll see how we're feeling. But thank you. Thanks for being here. Welcome to our date night. It is crazy, y'all.
Yeah.
It's crazy out there. It's crazy that this is the new normal. It's crazy that there is no normal, that things keep changing, that we're open, that we're closed, that somehow when you think Austin can't get more, or the United States or the world can't get more divisive and more polarized, it gets more polarized and divisive. So thank you for being here tonight with us and coming together around this shared plate of food to celebrate the labor of love that went into it, and that all of us can come here in our pajamas or not. I almost said Umbros. Anybody out there remember Umbros? It was like the first windbreaker shorts, not Umbros, but Umbros on the bottom, work on the top. So this is really special to us. Thank you for coming together to share in something special where it's the proverbial breaking of bread. But here we're going to break some cheese tonight together. Doesn't matter what's going on outside those doors, and or maybe you're outside enjoying and just relaxing and being together and being present and inviting you into our homes and letting us into yours. So it means a lot. Thanks. Okay.
Shall we eat?
Let's eat.
Let's eat some stuff.
Yeah, this could be like a 45-minute Kindle introduction. So a little house tip. We are going to please start, and if it got jostled, you'll figure it out. And some of you are super cutely replating your cheese plates. That's awesome, but then it's your job to follow along. But the bright white one in the circle, this is going to be at your 12 o'clock, 12/1, and we're going to go around clockwise. Other things to note, we will talk about the cheese first. We're going to invite you to eat the cheese. For all you people who can't wait, hold your horses. We will then talk about the pairing to go with it. But
hold your queso.
The goal is we want you to taste the cheese without the pairing first, and naked and in the buff, and get to know it. Hopefully most all of you got a menu. Here is your menu for tonight. So this is our starting at 12 o'clock and going around clockwise. Cheat sheet on the back of 7 styles of cheese and pairings.
And if for some reason you did not get one of those, I posted it about 25 minutes ago on our Facebook page, so you can just download that straight from there, that screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And tonight, okay, let's talk Vermont, y'all. So we did California last week. So here's some quick trivia for you. I don't know that this is still accurate, so I should look it up.
And before you do, I am also going to, for the first time, I am going to post all of the pairings and cheeses that we're doing in what order.
Dang, boy.
So that way, if you guys have questions along the way, you can refer back to the post that I just made.
It only took us like 12 of these classes to get there. We've also high-fived like 4 times already.
I'm feeling awesome.
Okay.
So you were saying about Vermont, like those fun facts about Vermont.
Okay, so a lot of people don't know this. Like we had to push Vermont a little bit more. So you guys are getting the all access awesome seats to this tasting. So Wisconsin is well known in the United States for cheese production, and they do have the highest cheese production, but it's some of the bigger conglomerates as well. California has the most dairy output, so just milk. Vermont is known for the highest amount or biggest quantity, highest number of artisanal cheesemakers. So this is the one to come to if you like artisan cheese. What do I mean by artisan cheese? It's touched by hands. It's made in traditional methods. It's usually the longer way than the slower way and less machines and robots involved.
Happy birthday, Eleanor. Just signed on for a second. One of our amazing team members that runs our e-commerce program. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Eleanor. If any of you guys have sent out cheese to any loved ones anywhere near and far, Eleanor is the one who's organizing it. So thank you, Eleanor. Happy birthday. Okay. So Taste of Vermont, I just told y'all, is like the state for artisan cheese. Number 2, what's another fun fact? They have a Vermont cheese trail that when we can all travel again, you guys should go do, and gals. It is 280 miles long and stops at 40 different cheesemakers. So oftentimes we get asked, where should I go for a cheese trip? And sure, you could go to the Loire Valley of France because that would be awesome. And sure, you could go to Tuscany and places in Italy, or when we recently went to Basque Country in Spain. But I would also tell you could go to Vermont, and it's freaking awesome. So go try cheese in Vermont on the Vermont Cheese Trail. Vermont also has the highest per capita ratio of cheesemakers to residents.
Awesome.
So here we are, y'all. Taste of Vermont. A portion of proceeds going to the American Cheese Education Foundation and American Cheese Month. I think we should taste some stuff.
We should do that. Let's do it. I've even made a map tonight so you could talk about where each place is. But why don't we start with just our...
Let's be honest that this first cheese we ordered just for you. Oh, we're not even on the cheese.
No, we need to do our little... We do this every time. It's very fast. It just helps us reset, get in a tasting mode, because we're going to want to experience all these flavors.
We know some of you could teach this part already.
So go ahead, pick up the Quico, and it's in the middle of your plate, and pinch your nose, throw it in your mouth, and start chomping on it. What's happening is your saliva is breaking down some of the organic matter, and you're going to taste maybe a couple of 5 things: salty, sweet, sour, bitter, or umami. And when you're like, oh, I really know what this thing tastes like, unpinch your nose and exhale out through your nostrils. And what happens is all of a sudden it goes from salty and slightly bitter maybe to Frito pie or popcorn or something, the best corn nut you've ever had. We usually do this with Marcona almonds, and it's even more spectacular sometimes. But we do this just to get your palate ready, because what we want to show is that taste plus aroma equals flavor. And that's what we're going to be talking tonight when we talk about pairings, and when Kendall and I introduce words and fluffiness and all of those types of things. We're going to mostly be talking about what's happening.
Getting fluffy during COVID.
Yeah, that happens.
The other fun thing before we dive in is your palate is your own and it's unique to you. So we'll tell you what we taste. We'll tell you what scientists and people would taste as certain flavor profiles for these styles of cheeses. But really, it's not just one of those special fluffy things like, oh, that's sweet, that's your palate. No, really, you have your own unique palate, much like a fingerprint. So they used to say, what's on the side? Acid. So but your tongue map has a sweet, salt, bitter, sour, and umami. Yeah. Did I repeat any? There's 5. But they used to think it was all in certain spots on our tongues, and now it's more out. The newer science is that every palate is different. And so that may be why some people are more sensitive to bitter or not. So we'll tell you what we taste. We may agree, we may disagree. Power of suggestion is an amazing thing. But that being said, it's really about you. And just our goal is to make cheese fun and unpretentious and accessible to everybody, which is why whenever we open again to walk-in traffic someday, you can come in and taste everything for free and fun. And if you don't know about this and you somehow found out about it and you just drove and picked up our curbside cheese plate today, thank you. We're a 10-year-old business. We're Austin's original cut-to-order cheese shop, which means nothing is prepackaged or dying in plastic wrap. We cut it all to order. You can taste it if you want it. We do cheese and everything that we like that goes with it. So cured meats and beer and wine and chutneys and jams and honeys and olives and all sorts of goods. We have this events program, and we have a wholesale program selling to about 150 restaurants in Central Texas, which is clearly on pause right now. So thank you. By doing this tonight, you're helping us make up for that. And then we have our e-commerce program. So
let's eat some stuff.
Okay,
I am super pumped about this cheese.
Literally was ordered for John. So I'm sorry for those people who don't like everything bagels. This is all about John.
This is all about John. Growing up outside of New York City, bagels. My favorite bagel is an everything bagel. And so when I see things like everything butter, I get it. I always get it. And when we were researching for this class, Vermont Creamery, if you've shopped in our shop before, may have seen Coupole or Cremant or Bonbouche. Some of the greatest cheeses, they're French style soft ripened cheeses that with a geotrichum rind. They're heavenly and they're wonderful. But when I was researching, I was looking for something special. And I came across this everything style. And so one of the things we always forget to mention, leave a little bit behind when you taste. You can go ahead and taste this. I'll talk about the company,
but wait.
But I want you to taste it from the inside.
You said you can taste it, so they're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Don't try to get a bite of just the inside without the seasoning on the outside. Then get a bite with the outside.
Yeah. And it's amazing because there's fresh cheese. This is goat's milk.
God, so good.
The curd will pick up aromas that are around it. If you've ever left butter open in your fridge before and you come back a couple days later and it tastes like fridge broccoli.
Milk carton?
Yeah, milk. It doesn't taste very good because it's picking up all those aromas. Cheeses tend to do the same thing. And so it's amazing when you taste just the inside of the cheese. They're putting this coating just on the outside, but those aromas of onion and garlic and everything are getting into the core of the cheese. And then, of course, taste this cheese with the outside. I mean, it is heavenly. It's making me so happy. I
don't even like everything bagels, but for some reason I like this.
This is heavenly.
And fortunately, we're both doing it together. My big, you know what? My problem with an everything bagel is I like sometimes go sweet bagel flavor profile, and then when we kiss, it's like, whoa, Garlic City. But now we're both on the same train, so it's okay.
So we can kiss. That sounds good.
First time on Facebook Live. We're sorry, y'all. Keep it PG.
Yeah. But what's really neat about this, because it's goat cheese, it has acidity. So typically I've had everything bagels with a cream cheese, which is cow's milk. It's rich, it's buttery, it's milky. But with this acidity, I can feel it. It's like drying the saliva off my palate. Which is really nice. And then
puckering.
Oh, it's really wonderful. And Vermont Creamery is just it's a super special company. Allison Hooper, in like 1980 or so, she traveled to Brittany and France and kind of learned how to make cheese on a small farm. And when she was back in Vermont, Bob Reese, her now business partner, was then working for the Department of Agriculture and was having to plan a dinner for the Department of Agriculture that was Vermont focused. And so he found Allison and was like, hey, would you make cheese just for this event? I can't find any others. Will you make it? And so she did. And it was so successful that night that they formed the business in 1984, basically that night. And the stories of Allison are her driving. It's not a huge market for this kind of cheese in Vermont. And so she was having to drive to New York to some of the Michelin restaurants, to some of the high-rated restaurants to sell her cheese every week. Think about that, building a market, creating a market for her cheese. It was relatively unknown.
Whenever she talks about it, we consider her one of the goat ladies of the 80s. So there was this group of 3 or 4 women who are really known as responsible for relaunching the American artisan cheese movement, because we were just coming off of industrialization, and mass-produced wartime cheese and all of this stuff, and all the benefits of those technologies, which there are some. So, but whenever I'm with her on a panel or speaking opportunity, or she always talks about, it's still amazing to them that today there's such a high demand for goat cheese, because in the 80s, they were the first people knocking on those doors saying, here, eat this. And chefs and everybody was like, goat cheese? We don't eat goat cheese. So now for it to be so
readily accessible.
Yeah, and ubiquitous on every goat cheese, cranberry, something salad at every restaurant. It's really largely attributable to those handful of hard-working women who were pounding on doors and making it happen, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And if you were on our event on Saturday night for the Rogue behind the scenes tasting, they talked about certified B Corp, which is a very rigorous standard for operating a business.
We've been working on certified B Corp forever.
It's so hard to get certified. But Allison and the team at Vermont Creamery went ahead and did that. And it's just outstanding. And in 2019 or so, they sold to Land O'Lakes, which is a farmer-owned cooperative. And they did that so that, one, she could step back and retire and actually have family time, but also they could have the resources to grow the business and sustain it in the long run. And so it's pretty incredible.
And certified B Corp, just to go ahead, is like how do they operate? What's the culture? Who's paid what? How long? How much electricity usage do they use? It's everything. So are they green? It's like a very accountable, measurable version of our mission. Our mission is to do good, eat good. It means we support makers who take care of their lands, their animals, and their teams, make a delicious product. In turn, we get to do all of the same and give back to our community. So it's a very accountable method for that, and literally like proving your watt usage and all this stuff. So anyway, it's really hard to become certified B Corp. I think there's only like,
I don't know.
I can't remember, but there's not many.
Not many.
Patagonia is the most famous one, Rogue Creamery. Anyway, so it's super cool that they've done it. And we paired this tonight with this little sourdough flatbread. For those of you who are not celiacs, if you're celiacs, don't eat it, but even gluten intolerant, this is actually has very low gluten. It's a sourdough starter. It's made locally by Jen and Danny, and it's organic. They source from Barton Springs Mill with James Brown, Texas heirloom wheat flours. And this one just has a pinch of salt with it. So I'm going to try it together. I didn't try it together yet. I almost ate up my whole piece. It didn't leave any behind.
It's so good.
It has like eat it on like a pumpernickel bagel.
I'd eat
flavor.
that every day. I would eat that all the time. That was so good.
If you're drinking, so a quick mise en place, what I got set up here for my tasting. John and I almost always have a sparkling water. We're preferential to Rambler here in Austin. But any kind of sparkling, the effervescent sparkling water, Topo Chico, whatever it is, will help clear the fats off your palate to get ready for a new bite. And then with that, especially with those goat's milk cheeses, I always love a nice dry white. And so tonight we are personally drinking the Growers Project Albarino 2018. This is made from all Texas grapes in collaboration with winemaker Ray Wilson, who's a local Austinite, leads the project. And this one specifically is from Ma Vineyards in the Texas High Plains. So anyway, marrying that acid with acid, and they, in a way, instead of becoming too acidic or too puckery, if you don't like the word acid, too puckery, they sort of blend and mellow each other out. And so it's a good complementary pairing.
I love that cheese. That was the first time I got to eat that cheese. This group tonight
I've never had this cheese, y'all.
I think everybody is in their pajamas with their feet up on the counter because they're not too chatty. So I think you guys are stepped far away from your computer.
Who has this on the big screen? Come on, somebody tell us we're hooked up on the TV.
So Websterville, I actually did a map so that Kendall and I could talk about where in the state these all operate. Websterville, where Vermont Creamery is sort of right in the center of the state, which is awesome.
All right, you post the name of this wine for Laura.
Oh, posting the name of the wine.
Well, I'll start to get ready. So that first one was a fresh cheese. Take our Cheese 101, or better yet, we're doing all different types of classes. Our regular cheese hosts and events teachers who want to stay employed and we want you to keep them employed, they're hosting different, more in-depth tastings every single night. And so we regularly do a Cheese 101, and it's via Zoom for 20 to 30 people, smaller groups. But take their Cheese 101 and you can go really in-depth on what a fresh style cheese is. No, now you're messing up my mise en place.
Sorry, my love.
Okay,
a couple people. Matt Stevenson has this up on the big screen. That's awesome.
All right, Matt.
And so does
How do we look
Tori.
on the big screen? Bigger.
Fantastic.
Okay, so we are going to jump to our next style of cheese.
Redding
Raclette,
y'all.
This
oh
is
my goodness.
Vermont Creamery, by the way, has won numerous awards. Like I can't even count them. Redding Raclette also is an award winner. So it's harder. There's we don't carry that many cheeses that aren't award winning. Like American artisan cheese is awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. American artisanal cheese is awesome. Jeremy Stevenson is an amazing cheesemaker. So this company, you can eat this one.
You don't see it. I did it quickly.
This is a semi-soft style cheese. Why don't we talk about the cheese first tonight, and then we'll do the backstory. How does that sound?
Go ahead.
All right. So this is a semi-soft style of cheese. Raclette, if you happen to make it to one of our raclette dinner series pre-COVID, raclette is an incredible melting cheese. It's a mountain. It's made traditionally in the Alps alongside like an Alpine cheese like Gruyere.
I'm interrupting.
Well,
raclette is the name of a dish, like how you assemble a dish. It's the name of a machine and the name of a cheese. And it comes from the French word racler.
To scrape.
Because they melt it fireside and then it just oozes off, and you take your little knife and you just scrape all the cheese off onto your plate of potatoes and little cornichon pickles and some cured meats. Okay, back to you.
So yes, but It's
like
also
artisanal queso.
amazing as a table cheese, as like a plating cheese. It's a semi-soft. You can see it's got this orange rind. It's washed in a brine as it ages to allow bee linens to grow, but it doesn't end up with that over pungent flavor. The actual cheese make process is more important in the final product than the rind itself, which is why we call it a semi-soft cheese, or at least in our lexicon. Again, it's an amazing melter, great for grilled cheese, mac and cheese, what have you, fireside. I just absolutely love it. And it's made by Springbrook Farm, and Springbrook Farm is owned by the Farms for City Kids Foundation, which
super cool, y'all.
Is so cool. It's a large nonprofit organization that's really trying to bring education into the world of agriculture. Jeremy Stevenson, I was on the board of directors with him at the American Cheese Society. He's one of the most amazing people I've gotten a chance to meet in cheese. He is the cheesemaker. He was their original cheesemaker. Their flagship cheese is Tarentes, and Tarentes has won, I don't know, a best of show twice, I think, now at the American Cheese Society.
Once for regular and twice for reserve.
Something
extra
like
age.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 3. I think it's still
Twice.
2.
Is your twice?
And that's the Alpine style cheese. That's a firm, similar to like Beaufort, Gruyere, Comte. And this is his raclette. And I think it's amazing. They've got about 100 registered jerseys on the property. It's more than 1,000 acres because they do a lot of different agriculture, and they have educational programs where kids can come out and stay.
They do maple. Oh yeah. So the Farms for City Kids Foundation is super awesome. It originally started as like getting inner city youth out and maybe kids who don't learn as well in a traditional setting. So instead they're learning math by how many quarts or gallons of milk do they get from this animal, and what are ratios and does it take to make cheese. And so it really was getting them out and teaching them classroom skills on a farm. And that's the nonprofit. And now I think pre-COVID times, they're booked out and they have kids. It used to be just for folks in their area, and now it's like groups go from Florida and to go do this once in a lifetime opportunity to stay on the farm and see real life why classroom skills matter in a real life application. So I love this flavor profile for being kind of like meaty and hearty, like caramelized onions.
It's got a depth.
If you have our apple onion jam, just anybody randomly out there, I would go get it and put this on it. But tonight we paired it with. We're still going. Sorry.
We paired it. You go ahead and talk because I had an idea that I wanted to share.
We just paired it with a Turkish dried apricot. Now you share your idea and I'll go back.
If you like wash drying cheeses as much as Kendall and I do,
it's my fave.
If you bite the outside of if you take a bite of the rind, you will get the essence of that experience. It's got a little bit more bark to it. It's a little stronger flavor profile, a little more, I don't know, sweaty feet.
And I like the bite with the rind, with the dried apricot. That was my preferred pairing, is to put them together that way.
Iris said one cheese to rule them all.
Oh, go Iris. There's a lot of people who agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's a very versatile cheese.
If you're going to make grilled cheese sandwich, or it's surprising how little grilled cheeses we make. We should make more grilled cheeses. But if you're going to make a grilled cheese sandwich, or you're going to make mac and cheese, or just, oh my God, on scrambled eggs, this cheese would be the way to go. I'm going to do it for eggs for breakfast.
Sounds good. If I don't eat it all tonight.
Oh yeah, we're not going to have any left over.
I'm crushing mine so far.
You are not following the rule of leaving a little bit back.
Tonight's not the night.
Okay. You know what? There are no rules in cheese school.
No.
Yeah. Except have fun, hopefully.
Oh yeah. What did everybody else think about that? I would love to hear from you.
Matt's daughter loves it.
Oh,
and they're coming to get some more. Okay, awesome. And sometimes you'll see these cheeses in our case, and sometimes not. Sometimes we're bringing them in just for events. Sometimes we pull them from our cheese shop and we do them for events. So there's not always exactly the same on both sides of the streets. You'd think it would be easier.
It would be that way to figure that out.
Yeah.
We like to do special things. In fact, we keep doing these projects with dairies across the country that are behind the scenes tasting, where you actually get to you get video content, and the cheesemakers themselves are on, and they are sending us special things that only end up in the events program too. So it's amazing.
Oh my gosh, it's just the texture on that. I love eating it not as a melted cheese because it's like toothsome and chewy. That's a great cheese.
So good.
in our humble opinions.
Love, love, love.
You also don't have to agree with what we say. All right, let's go to Boston Post Dairy.
I would love to. So, Reading, I didn't tell you on the map. Reading is sort of south central, a little west of that. It would be a good indicator.
So now, west of what?
So, like west of center.
Oh,
a little like that's about where. If you need to know, Reading, Vermont is where you'd look it up. Now we're going basically to the Canadian border. We're going.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, she's sorry.
Pause. I can do it later. But that was our first raw milk cheese. And I was looking down. It's pretty awesome. Usually like half the menu's pasteurized, half is raw milk. But we have almost all raw milk cheeses tonight, except for 2. So 5 raw milk cheeses. We usually get questions about that. It just basically means that it has not been heat treated to the level of being called pasteurized. Some of them are thermalized. Mm-hmm. But they still have to be called raw milk in the United States or unpasteurized. So basically, we can sell any cheese in the United States that is made from unpasteurized milk as long as it's aged over 60 days. If it's under 60 days, it has to be made from pasteurized milk. That is not the case in France. So traditionally, a brie, a French brie de Meaux, is made with raw milk cheese, but it's under 60 days. Any versions you can get here are going to be made with a pasteurized milk, which is why it's different. And so whenever somebody's traveling anywhere, we will say, just go to the local farmer's market, go into a local cheese shop, and just say, what should I try here and now? And they won't lead you astray, hopefully, if they're good at the job. Okay, back to Boston Post.
So we will hopefully change your mind about goat cheese, Lauren. This is Très Bon. It's a goat milk Gouda style. So it's going to have some of that acidity of a goat's milk cheese, but because of that Gouda inspiration, you're going to maybe get a little bit more caramelly butterscotch flavor profile.
It is butterscotchy.
Mm-hmm. And so that is a result. That's good.
I know.
That's really good tonight.
It's tasting really. So cheese can taste, if we sound surprised that it's tasting good, artisanal cheese can vary from batch to batch. What I was thinking about this earlier when I just said something was award winning. There are different years when it's just like, like a horse or like a dog. It's like, it's just showing really well this year. And it's because different flavors will stand out. And what was the rain like and how much moisture was there in the grass? And all of these different things contribute to what makes the flavor of a cheese what it is. And it varies artisanally from batch to batch and season to season. And so there are times when we get a different wheel and we're like, this wheel is really good and exceptional. Anyway, that was surprised me.
There's some tropical fruit notes in there. And so that flavor profile comes from the make process. And in Goudas, they typically are washing the curds, basically diluting the whey, takes the sugar out of the cheese, the lactose, so that the lactic acid bacteria can't actually consume it, create acid. It's a whole sciencey thing. And so it ends up presenting sweeter on your palate, which is super cool. And so go ahead and eat it. There's a little paraffin wax on the edge, a little yellow rind. You can peel that off and eat the whole rest of it. You'll get stronger, more maybe intense notes towards the very outside where it's drier. But Boston Post Dairy is in the very northern part of Vermont. And the Boston Post Stagecoach Road runs through the farm, and that's why it's named that way. The parents have been farming since 1962, and then they had 14 kiddos, 3 girls, 11 boys, and in 2007 they purchased 15 kids. They purchased the farm, Boston Post Dairy, and they started making cheese. And this was one of the ones that they started making with their goat's milk. And the story that I read on their website today, because that's where I was researching, how did they get the name? That's what I was trying to find out. Très Bon, is that the first time they ever tasted a batch, they were all shouting, "It's good! It's very, very good! It's good!" And the mother was in the back, who was French, said,
"Très bon."
Yeah, c'est très bon, and then B-O-N-N-E.
You don't say the cest.
Okay, what?
C'est très bon.
You can,
That kind of sounds like I speak French.
You're crushing it.
It's about confidence. C'est très bon.
Bon, B-O-N-N-E is the feminine, because it's women cheesemakers. That's why they named it that way. So I thought that was super cool.
Okay, we did get a question, and I'd love to talk about it. So Matt asked, he said, I don't taste the butterscotch at all. So when we break it down and what we're tasting, The first flavor immediately that I get is goat. It's goat's milk cheese. Goat's milk is known for that minerality, that acidity, sometimes citrusy, but I get the more citrus zestiness in a younger cheese, like the first cheese, not when it's aged out. But goat's milk cheeses are often known for developing this like butterscotch toffee note as they, or caramel note as they age out. And then Gouda is what the recipe make is what starts to lend this like cooked milk, sweeter flavor profile. So when I eat it, I first get the goat. If I'm breathing out, that's when it tastes like what I just had a caramel.
If you had like a Werther's Original in the back of your mouth, like that's kind of what I experienced.
And then I get the salt. So it's like that caramel butterscotch is, if I'm exhaling, it's the middle flavor profile when I'm tasting through that.
And for those of you that are asking what is paired, this is Wood's Cider Mill Apple Cider Jelly. So this is a pretty amazing product. And as a reference, if you're curious about what it's paired with going forward, at the very beginning of the event, I posted all the cheeses with all their pairings. So you can at least reference that as you're starting to eat if we're still talking.
So just scroll up or scroll down.
This is from Springfield, Vermont. They've been making cider jelly since 1882. They grind and press the apples to make a sweet cider, and then they evaporate it over wood-fired stainless steel stuff. It's amazing. It's one of the coolest products that we found. I think one of our team members, Kara, found this in 2000, maybe 13. Would have been around how long ago we started carrying it.
And she's from Vermont, so of course she would love it and what I did. So we, just so people know where we're at, we are still on the third cheese pairing. So we are finishing up eating the third cheese, which had a little orange wax rind on it that we peeled off, and that was next to our apple cider jelly. And we're about to move to the one that has a chocolate on top of it. What else was I going to say? Très Bon. Did you say that they have 11 sons and 2 daughters? Did you say that?
Four daughters.
4 daughters. Thank you. I don't do math when it gets that high. That's why I'm married to a CPA. Okay. I thought that was funny. I laughed at myself at John is typing responses. What's new in the Antonelli household? What did I come in today? And I was like, I'm so funny. And I showed you, made a joke. And you're like, oh, yeah, that was funny. Okay.
I remember, but I'm not going to say it.
You're going to out me. Okay. Let's do cheese number 4.
Yeah, that jelly was so good.
It was.
I was just answering a couple of customer questions.
It made me pucker more. So the jelly, when we're looking for pairings, you want 2 things that will elevate each other and make an amazing third flavor. You don't want either one to stand out and be the hero. And so a lot of times we're making guesses and we're trying to always do different pairings from tasting to tasting. And to me, the apple cider jelly actually kind of stepped in front of the Très Bon, but then at the very end, Très Bon came back a little bit. But the apple cider jelly, I was surprised that it was as assertive as it was tonight, just meaning that it was more present on my palate than I expected it to be.
I love it. This can make a great cocktail, this cider jelly.
Another note,
So
next
good.
time you should make me a cocktail. Another note, what was I going to say? Oh, I hope you're all eating your cheese at room temperature. And if not, don't worry, it's still delicious. But all the flavors are much more present at room temp. Why? Because you can get more of that aroma, which we know creates more flavor. So anytime you're buying this amazing cheese and you get it home, make sure that you let it sit out and come to room temp so you can get the full flavor and expression of it, which could also be why some people are tasting some things and not others, if your cheese is still cold.
Yeah.
We always, by the way, that's the rule, but if you're really excited and you get it home and you just eat it, sometimes it happens.
Perfect.
Are you with me now?
I'm with you, my love. You're the best.
Okay.
I was just apparently can't see the old posts. So I have to repost the pairings every little while. I'm learning, y'all. This is 2.0 of our Facebook Live.
Well, other people might be like us and their
Lisa,
children
everybody
are
can hear.
owning their devices. Okay, this is my first time to taste this cheese. This next one.
Yeah. So this is Shep Sog. This is comes from the Algonquin word of sheep. Algonquins lived in that part of Vermont, and this is a little west of center.
Oh, when you break this under your nose and smell
Lake George.
it, and that shows you aroma.
Yeah. And so, so good.
I know.
And so the sheep and the sheep just make really great milk. Grafton Village cheese is one of my favorite cheesemakers. When I was growing up as a kid, we used to go and spend a week or so in the cabin in the middle of the Adirondack Mountains. And when I was older, and it was just me with my parents, I was the youngest of 3 siblings. We would go. They would take me on wild goose chases, is what we would call it. It would just be like a random adventure for the day. And one day they surprised me by driving me all the way to Grafton Village, and I was like a junior or senior in high school that wasn't yet interested in cheese. So it didn't quite go over well. So my dad just remembers me sitting on the side of the road, basically moping while I'm in one of the greatest places.
For the record, it's like our daughter is showing the same superpower, but John has this superpower where he can say, do you remember when I was in 4th grade and we were driving down route whatever, and on like exit 44B, there's a A&W, and we would get the blah, blah, blah at the gas station there. And sure enough, he can like now go and look on Google Maps and just from location memory in his youth, find places and restaurants that he's eaten. It's an incredible superpower.
And Elliot's going to be even better at it.
So this is our first sheep's milk cheese.
It's golden almost. It's got cow in it.
We should have told you before you ate all the Trebon. Maybe you still have some left. But if you compare, Trebon made with goat's milk is a lot wider versus these other ones made with cows and sheep.
Sheep is a little bit more ivory. Since it has cow mixed in, this is the Shep Sog here.
And this is all cow.
And then this is all cow. So all cow will end up with that really dark yellow note.
And why is that, John?
And that is because the animals, the goats, can actually digest beta carotene. And so when they eat all the beta carotene and all this forage that they're eating, it converts in their bodies to vitamin A. So it doesn't transfer into the milk. But sheep and cow don't. And so that beta carotene ends up in the milk and then ends up in the cheese. Cows have a wide variety of forage that they eat. So during the summer months, that can be a massive amount of different weeds and grasses and flowers and things. And it ends up creating a much deeper yellow.
So as you take a bite of this one, and then we'll introduce it to you, goat's milk cheeses we talked about, minerally, that acid note. Cow's milk are known for being grassy, creamy, buttery, really, but cow's milk are most versatile. Sheep's milk, the main flavor profile is nutty. This nuttiness, this richness, it's the fattiest of these milk types that's on here. Really big, beautiful fat globules. I know that sounds weird, but things we talk about in the cheese world. And this one is actually a blend of sheep and cow milk. Why would somebody blend it? A couple of reasons. One, flavor profile and stylistically, and 2, about what's available. And it's really, sheep produce the least amount of milk of any animal. That being said, because it's so fatty, you'll get the most protein content and solids to make cheese. But we have the least amount. Well, cow's milk cheesemakers, the most prolific in the United States, and goat's milk cheesemakers, sheep's milk cheesemakers. We only feel like we have a half a dozen, and with that, they're a dying breed. No pun intended, but it's just so many barriers to entry, really expensive to have them, and you don't easily get a lot of cheese from it.
And so on the Shep Sog, these are aged about 4 to 6 months. So they're firm, and they're between semi-soft and firm. The rind has this sort of white mottling. This is ambient mold. So this is mold that lives in the caves, in the environment, that kind of attaches on and protects the cheese. We had somebody say, when I tasted the rind, it made it taste like a blue cheese. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's basically pure mold, just like the inside of a blue cheese. It's a different mold, but it's going to have that strong potency. I smell notes of chocolate, and I can't tell whether that was because the piece of chocolate was on top of it or if it's the rind smells that way. But we paired it with, this is an 72% dark chocolate from Askinosie. This is from the Tanzania. So basically, Sean Askinosie founded this company on the principle that you can make great chocolate from bean to bar, and you could support the farmers, cultivators with profits and shared profits. And so he has sort of led this sort of revolution in the artisan cheese, the craft chocolate world, rather, and is making some amazing things. This is one of the owners of the.
What I love about Sean Askinosie and the Askinosie Chocolate Company, is they say, and I was just looking because this is an old fact of mine, and I was making sure it still said it, and it still says, tastes good, does good. We guarantee to our farmer partners higher than fair trade prices for our cocoa beans, open books, and a share of our profits. I remember when they first started up, it was important to him that he personally traveled down and hand delivered cash to make sure that it was going to the farmers and makers and not being lost somewhere along the process. In bureaucracy and in so many different things, we say that this is happening, but it's really hard. It's a different thing when you're actually tracing it and making sure that it ends up in the end game and where you want it to. And so his has been all about upholding and lifting up and just giving a platform to these local makers and making sure that they're actually making a sustainable living from it and not some sort of sweat labor.
Yeah, that chocolate has a ton of fruit notes. If you take a bite of it all by itself, you might get dark plum notes, rum raisin. There's some really cool flavor profiles.
William says he loves Tanzania. You love, like, you've been there, or you love Tanzania chocolate?
Or both.
Hi, Janae.
Hey, Janet. Janet Fletcher, one of the leading ladies of cheese, is on. Hello. Thank you for saying hello.
Both Janet and Janae are doing virtual discussions with makers and tastings and stuff, so follow them as well.
Yasmin is asking about when you can eat the rind and when you can't. Do you want to knock that out while I finish my chocolate?
Okay, so who are my friends who've been on here 5 and 6 times? We always make jokes, Yasmin, but no rind left behind, or a rind is a terrible thing to waste. And then most recently, another monger, Erika, came up with, be kind to your rind. So all that being said, we will almost always say, try the rind. If you like it, eat it. If you don't, life's too short, don't eat it. I would say the cheese community, more people say to eat the rind than not, but it's still split. There are some cheesemakers who say, no, that's just the outside of the cheese, eat the inside. Others will tell you, oh, that is the ambient cave and molds and spores, and my part of that, my terroir is in the rind. And so they will tell you to eat it. For us, a lot of times, it depends on what I'm drinking with it, what I'm pairing with it. For instance, I like a really ripe brie, but the more ripe and overripe it becomes, the more ammoniated the rind may become. And then depending on what I'm drinking it with, I may not like it at all. So we always give it a bite. We say, don't be the person who hollows out the cheese at a party. Just cut the whole piece. And then if you like it, eat it. And if you don't. Oftentimes on a cheese like this, I will eat most of the cheese and then eat the rind separately. So it's kind of like 2 different experiences as well. I love sheep's milk with chocolates. So whenever somebody comes in and they're like, oh, I want to do something sexy tonight, or that was weird. Nobody comes into our shop and says that to us, by the way. I don't know where it came from. But if they're like, I want to do something special on Valentine's Day or something like that, I would say go for, and they want to do this big, bold red. Big, bold red wines are actually very tricky to pair with cheeses because you're going to lose the nuance of the red, and cheese sits on your palate, and then sometimes tannin fights with cheese. So all that being said, I will often say pair that big, bold red with an aged sheep's milk cheese and put a dark chocolate bar with it, and you've got a pairing.
Pairing.
Now you've been invited into our personal
We didn't
life.
mention that Grafton was founded in 1892, in the 1890s.
Yeah.
Like, it's an
Grafton
old school
is
company, y'all. And so it's a great company to support. They make amazing cheddars. They're playing with these others. And that cheese, Shep Sog, won a gold at a World Cheese Awards a couple of years ago.
And also another raw milk cheese that we have.
Yeah.
All right.
I just shared a link to the map that we were looking at because I realized that we weren't talking about it the whole time. So might as well, I just put it out there in case you want to see on Google Maps where all these places are.
We forgot to give our descriptor that we are always unscripted, scripted.
We're always unscripted.
I forgot to show you all this, but I'm just going to, for visual people, this was 2 pairings ago, the pure cider jelly, for those who like to see it. And then for our local sourdough project, if you want to support them, they have all different flavors. They actually, they have an everything flavor. I wonder if it would have been crazy to do everything flavor with the everything.
No,
chef.
I couldn't have done it.
If you couldn't have done it, I certainly couldn't have done it. Anyway, so they're at the farmers market, Antonellis cheese shop, and a few other locations. Okay.
All right.
So
should we talk about Ascutney Mountain?
Yes, I always say Ascutney, but remember when we had somebody who worked with us from Vermont and they were like, it's Ascutney, or
okay. Well, we'll go with Ascutney Mountain tonight because that's how we pronounce it.
I can't remember now. I'm going to look it up in a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Cobb Hill.
There is no translator
in Heartland.
And so go ahead, pick up your cheese. This is the very yellow, very dark yellow.
I just want you to, before John starts talking about it, look and see. You can see all these little different kind of craggles in there, and it's not really fissures.
Small air holes,
little air pockets. But compare it to the one next to it, and you don't see that. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So Alpine style cheeses, the style of them, they were made way up in the mountains, right? Typically in unplowed pastures in the Alps, and up there you don't actually have that much salt.
Sorry, when I break it under my nose, I get egg right now. Keep going. I don't know why.
Yum. That's delicious. Yeah. And so what you have access to is firewood, a lot of trees. And so these are sort of low salt items they use heat to extract a lot of the moisture. And so this is Picture Gruyere, Comte. I talked a little bit about those when we were doing Reading raclette before, but Ascutney has been one of our favorite products to showcase in the shop. That and Pleasant Ridge Reserve, those two have kind of come in and out with Tarentaise. And it's made in the style of like a Swiss Appenzeller. So it's aged 9 to 10 months. It's got a firm texture. It snaps when you bend it. It usually has a very strong flavor.
Yeah, this is actually pretty mild-mannered compared to this cheese. And I like it. The last couple of wheels we've gotten were a little bit stronger on like this lipase or not lipase. What was that? I'll think of it in a minute.
Propionic bacteria.
Yeah, when the Alpine styles age out. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to have a moment. It'll come to me. But yeah, this is sweeter and nuttier.
Yeah, you're stuck. So this is Cobb Hill. She's going to come up with it. I couldn't
tell at all. Just hold, please. I will come up with it.
Yeah, and what's going through her brain right now is like, oh, lipase. Lipase is that typical flavor profile that you experience in a like a Pecorino Romano or one of those dry Italian cheeses that has a big bite to it. So I'm not sure where she's going.
I know. That wasn't where I was going. I'll come up with that. Hi, Helder. Hi, Adeline. Adeline is on here as the CEO of Vermont Creamery. The first cheese we tasted, y'all. Everybody say hi to Adeline.
Adeline, we tasted your everything Shep tonight for the first time. Awesome.
So
wonderful. Good. So many hearts emojis went to you tonight.
Okay, so for this Ascutney, really what you're trying to do with this raw milk cheese is showcase the milk. They are intentionally not pasteurizing it so they don't kill off all that flavor and microflora. I used to say, guys, microflora and fauna when we first opened. Yeah. And finally realized I was saying fauna. That they were eating animals. But anyway, all the microflora, the diverse foliage that they're eating as an Alpine cheese, that would be a cheese actually from the Alps. But as a mountain style, or when we talk about Alpine style, you're really trying to say that what the animals are grazing on is super important, and you're trying to completely showcase that. Don't really touch the cheese in any other way and let that be the full expression of the cheese. And so that's what you're getting to taste in here is what the cows are eating at this time of year in the pastures in Heartland, Vermont.
It's so good.
Okay, we paired this.
It's so good, y'all.
I love taking these with like a savory flavor pairing. So like mustards or apple onion jam, shallot confit. And tonight we're doing it with this pickled okra. I have a massive amount of peppers on my pickled okra.
Hot and crunchy pickled okra. With a turmeric blend. But we didn't really talk about Cobb Hill. Cobb Hill is an intentional like co-housing community where they're really focused on sustainable living, sustaining the environment. It's very intentional. And so there's lots of different agricultural products being produced in and around this co-housing community. They've been doing it since the late 90s. And this cheese has been around since 2000. It's super delicious. And with that okra, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Your okra's all gone.
I did. I ate all the okra. Right. So I love pickled products with cheese. I just need that bite of acid and fermentation in that sense to help take all my cheese down. So I would eat a whole plate of pickles and of different types of pickles and cheeses, which by the way, we have a pickles and cheese class as well.
So good. That pairing was outstanding.
Also, so many of these cheeses actually could take a red. If you are drinking a red wine, those last few, I would say a lighter red. But this one I think could actually stand up to a little bit of red with more depth and more depth to it and more weight to it. But now's a good time to move into those if you want. Also, these styles of cheeses is a great time to move into some heavier beers if you're drinking beers with it tonight. And cider would have been a good pairing for all of these. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, now you ate your big bite of pickled okra.
Before, when you said lipase, were you just talking about the
sting?
holes?
No, I'm thinking about the sting that
the bite back.
Yes, and that. Anyway, it'll come back to me in a minute. Okay. Yeah,
fair enough. That was a great pair.
Or it'll come back to me in 8 minutes after we're already off, and I'm gonna be like, no, tonight.
Next year. Or next year, who knows?
I have a weird random story, John. I didn't tell you this, but I used to rodeo growing up, and I woke up in the middle. Histamines, John. That was it. Thank you.
You love me.
I do. I was gonna wake up tonight at midnight and all night being like, why can I not think of that? This is what COVID's doing to me. But yes, so some Alpine cheeses, domestically, some of our producers were having trouble that as they were aging their cheeses out, it was getting too strong on the histamines. And so then they've worked on that. And sometimes I've gotten, in some different wheels, I've gotten a really strong histamine from Muscatney, and I didn't get it at all there tonight. And it's like this little burn sting in your throat. And this was a beautiful version of Muscatney. Thank you guys.
So good.
So my dream about rodeoing was I could not remember the name of we had a different horse for each sport. And I did barrel racing, pole bending, goat tying, breakaway roping, cutting. And I could not remember the name of my roping horse. And I still to this day can't, to this moment, I think his name was Ernest. But in my dream, I was like, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name, and talking to the horse. And that kept me up then when I woke up for 3 hours.
A couple people asked what the brand of the okra was.
They didn't ask what my horse is?
No, not yet. No, they'll come to it. There's a delay. The brand is Davina. Super delicious and super good. A lot of people are pretty darn happy with what we just threw out there. That's pretty awesome. And Adeline got major loving.
Yay. And Janae, our fellow cheese goddess as well, said that sheep milk can have that as well, that histamine thing.
Sure.
That's what you're talking about. Okay. So now
and then Lisa said it tasted a little bit meaty.
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
No, but I would definitely always say those cheeses have sometimes a hearty flavor profile.
That was so good.
Okay, Verano.
Here we go.
This cheese, you guys, has won. Our next one has won. It's our full sheep's milk cheese, best of show at the American Cheese Society. Verano means summer in Spanish. This is a great natural rinded cheese that I would definitely give a try to. This one is from Putney, Vermont. It's a firm style cheese made by Major Farms.
They changed the name of the farm to Vermont Shepherd now.
Oh, I need to change it on our menu.
Yeah.
So, my bad. This is less dry than your last one. So if I had tasted it before, I would have flip-flopped the order.
All right. We do have somebody that has to go to a meeting at 7:00 tonight. So we're going to do our best to finish up these next two bites. Marcia, if we don't get to it, it'll be live right afterwards, and you can come back and finish that blue cheese. But we'll do our best to finish quickly. So this is Vermont Shepherd. It's one of the first true sheep's milk cheeses that was being made in the U.S. It was inspired by the Pyrenees-style sheep's milk cheeses like Osorati. And they came back, and since 1993, they started making this cheese. They have between 300, 700 sheep, depending on the time of year. I think overall the flavor profile is amazing. They were one of the first to actually dig a hole to put their aging facility into. They dug out the side of a hill and built a man-made cave. So this is just a special cheese. It's got a beautiful natural rind on it. You can smell the cave on it.
Marsh, I can already tell you I'm not going to finish in 3 minutes. So feel free to jump ahead and then come back and later watch our end of it.
Sorry, we talk too much sometimes. We get so excited.
We go in depth. So something that's just super important, which John was just saying, is about the affinage process. So all along the cheese make process, there are different steps. It starts with really good milk. Then it's how you treat it and how you make it, and where cheese making is art meets science. And then the maturation or affinage, the cheese aging, is when you can really bring a cheese into what it's supposed to be, or you could really mess it up and just not showcase all those great flavors. And then all the way through distribution, and then how your cheese shop handles it. And so Cheese is a living, breathing thing, and you want to get the best fresh cut piece. And that's why we'll always tell you to only buy what you're going to eat within a week or so, and then come back more often, because if you buy a huge chunk, it just starts to deteriorate in flavor. Tonight we paired this Verano with dried tart cherries. You want to talk about why you paired the tart cherries?
Yeah. So what I love about the dark fruit here, you get a little hint of acidity, but it's that sweetness. And so what I think about sheep's milk, it's this sort of luscious, wonderful, rich flavor profile on the palate. You get a little bit of earthiness that comes through from the actual aging of the cheese, from the rind. And when you pair it with the tart cherry, that sweetness really brings out the sort of that fattiness of the cheese, a beautiful, thick coating on the palate. And I just think that that's really special. I think
the cheese didn't taste, aged cheeses oftentimes will taste more salty. The cheese did not taste salty to me until I ate the tart cherry. And then I went back to the cheese and I was like, whoa, that cheese is salty. And it's because the tart cherry brought that out. The sweetness of the cherry brought out the salt. So that's a good example of the contrast in flavors trying to pair well together, is sweet and salt in that way.
And I like that it keeps coming in and out. I get the cheese, then I get the cherry, and I get the cheese, and then I get the cherry. And it's really fun. In this case, what I would probably do is make sure you have a little bit bigger piece of cheese than the cherry, because the cherry has such a strong flavor profile, and that way the cheese can still contend. And I would argue that tasting it with the rind will be incredibly special. It'll end up maybe tasting like a port wine, like a really rich, earthy flavor profile.
And we got a question about how to serve some of these cheeses. All these cheeses are great staple cheeses. Put them out and eat them. We can do anything with any of these cheeses. So yes, you could put them on salads. You could shave them on grilled vegetables with a drizzle of olive oil. You could, these more aged cheeses do not melt as well. So if you want to do something melty, this would just be more of like a little salt topper on it if you grated it on top, but it is not going to melt into a dish very well due to the moisture content, the low moisture content. As you age a cheese out, you are in essence kind of drying it out, but it's letting more of that moisture content dry out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I know you mentioned, but I think it's really important. You're tasting springtime, essentially. This is a cheese that's made, grasses. This is a cheese that's made when the animals are actually on pasture. Their other cheese in Verano is made when they're not on pasture. It's a pretty cool. This cheese used to be called Vermont Shepherd, and now it's Verano by Vermont Shepherd. And
the reason Invierno is different is they add cow's milk into it because they need to supplement because there's not enough sheep's milk. Cool. My favorite bite was with the rind on this one. So Hasmin, try this one with the rind, but I like that earthy note that it brought in and some more dimensionality to it.
Hannah asked if ketchup is a pairing. Absolutely. Why
we
not?
have not done that before.
I'm
sure Texan. I put ketchup on a lot of things. I have not put ketchup on cheese yet.
I'm sure I have. I can't say I haven't.
I didn't say it was too good for it. I just said I hadn't done it yet. Who knows? Maybe we'll try it. Okay.
Awesome.
Last up is our blue cheese, Gorgonzola, from the Boucher family farm. Another raw milk cheese.
So go ahead and eat this cheese, but I want you, if you can.
Oh yeah, you're holding it better. Yours is
that.
better. I didn't get to show mine.
Do you see those striations, those lines down the side of the blue cheese? This is super cool. The way you make blue cheese is you add this aerobic mold into the milk. And then a couple days after you form the cheeses, you puncture the wheels of cheese with like needles or a plate or whatever. And because it's an aerobic mold, it needs the oxygen to grow. And so once you pierce and you allow the oxygen in, this mold takes off and grows beautifully. And so this is a really beautiful example of, you can actually see where one of those needles would have pierced. It looks like they're doing it by hand because there's a second one there and they're both kind of a little crooked. So it's not like a perfect formation. And some people will do it by hand. Some people will use a machine to do it. And it's pretty amazing. And so
earlier today, you were telling me how excited you are to tell this story.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to, I will do my best to remember. But this is, the cheesemaker's name is Dawn, and they live on Gore Road. So Gorgonzola, is a famous blue cheese, so it's a really fun play on words. We use this usually for our Halloween class because of the word gore in it, which is awesome.
And while you're telling the story, let's talk about what we paired it with too.
You can eat it. And what we paired it with is a fig chutney from Taste Elevated. Lori Krieger has been a really amazing partner of ours over the years. We were the first shop to ever carry her products. Now she's pretty much national.
That pairing was awesome.
But she it's a fig base, and they have a few additions in here. There's a little sriracha in it, which is pretty fun and playful, and super delicious.
And mix and match your jams with some of the other cheeses while we're telling you.
So basically, this story goes back a long time, 14 generations. They basically 400 years ago, the family was in the Quebec area, actually in Canada, and one of the great whatever during the French and Indian Wars did something incredible, was given some land, and that was pound for 14 generations. And then in the 1940s, they moved from Quebec to basically just the other side of the border into Vermont. And so they've been in the Vermont side now since the 1940s. I just thought it was cool because that's such history.
Yep.
The only other cheesemaker that I've come across that has that kind of history is Quick's in England. They've had the same property for about 400 years and passed it down through the families, and just make amazing things. And so Daniel was the son of that family. Dawn married into the family and wanted to do something on the farm and do some work. And so in the 90s, she came up with this idea, and she started making cheeses in 1998 with cow's milk. This is one of our favorite little ditties. We've had Gorgonzola in the business since the very beginning.
This is a natural rinded blue cheese that can be rindless or natural rinded. Oftentimes they're in foil wrapped, and just different treatments of the cheese, but it's going to definitely give you a much bigger, earthier bite on this rind. Yes, somebody said it's strong. Blue cheeses you can have strong in different ways. Sort of a really what you might call sharp, but this piquant flavor profile that to me just knocks you in the back of your throat or slaps you across the face. Then there's also like strong, like really earthy and dank and hearty strong. There are also really mild mannered blue cheeses. If you're not a blue cheese fan and just want to play in it, there's all different types. And if you don't pierce it, then you never have that mold grow, but it's still a blue cheese. Somebody said they also got notes, I think, of coffee on it. Yeah, I could totally see that, that earthiness and that soil coming through. And I really liked it with the fig chutney tonight.
That was super good. Yeah. This is a rind that's going to be super intense.
So try it just to do it, but then feel free to chase it afterwards.
Yeah. It's your call. If you like it, keep eating it. If you don't, stop. Super easy. Couple of questions. Going back a few here. Somebody asked where you can get the cherries. We do sell these tart cherries because I hoard them for myself because I love them.
We sell them
so
because
much.
John wanted tart cherries in the shop.
Haley mentioned that because Verano is a raw milk cheese, you're likely tasting more of the springtime.
Mm-hmm.
Haley is one of our educators that actually leads classes, a lot of our public classes and some of our private events that we do.
And has her own cheese hustle called Brie Here Now. So follow along on that. It's gorgeous photography and ways to just celebrate being present and mindful and using cheese as a vehicle for that.
Yeah. And so I'm like super pumped, y'all. I'm going to be on the Clean Plate Club here in a second.
So it's 7:07. We got to wind this puppy down.
Let's do that.
But we want to go through, and this is a really interesting exercise when we can't hear you yelling, but we want to know what your favorite cheese was or pairing. Let's say pairing, and you can only vote 7 times. Yeah. And so when I say it, you got to put your little icon up. And now be careful, because sometimes some of you hit the mad icon, and I think that we've made you upset. And as an empathetic person who really reads into others' emotions, it's very hard to sit with me. So that being said, let's go through, and then we'll wind it down and take you home for our Taste of Vermont tonight. Whose favorite was number 1? Everything Shed.
That was awesome tonight. Woo!
Okay.
Emoji.
Whose favorite was number 2? Reading Raclette. Ooga chugga.
It was so good tonight.
I can't stop this feeling. Okay. Whose favorite was C'est très bon? C'est très bon.
That made me so happy tonight. I'm having a hard time, y'all. I'm going for all 7.
Shep Sog. How are we doing on Shep Sog? Just keep them coming. Oh, somebody gave me a teary-eye. I'm not sure if it's on purpose. A Scutney Mountain or Scutney or whoever is Vermont out there. Okay, Verano.
The Verano was so good tonight.
I know. And the Gorgonzola. Do we have any big blue cheese favors out there?
We have somebody, yeah. Michelle Edmonds. Gorgonzola all the way tonight.
Yay! So our goal is we feel like we did our job if we got somebody liking every one of them.
We got Trey Bone.
And if there's one cheese that you don't like, we also feel like we did our job because we're always have a goal to do a challenge cheese, to put some out there that's maybe introduces you to something new and stretches your cheese horizons. So with that, I can hear my kids winding down in the other room. I'm sure they are not ready to put themselves to bed, but they're ready to say that they're crazy for another hour. We just want to sign off by saying thank you. Thank you for supporting American Cheese Month. Thank you for supporting American makers, from not only cheesemakers and farmers and dairymen and women, but to those people who make our chocolates and jams and chutneys, and our beekeepers and our winemakers. Thank you for supporting our little 10-year-old business. During COVID, we haven't had to lay off a single employee, and that is literally because you were with us tonight and helping to support us. So thank you for that, and being with us. If we made a mistake and missed a cheese, let us know. Our team is hustling. And
if you're one of the cheese producers and we made a mistake, reach out to us.
Let us know. Yes, please.
Please, we're always trying to learn, do better.
So that takes us to our core principles. Yes, one is improve every day. If there's a way that we could make this experience better for you, please do let us know. Check out our website because we have all different types of tasting events. And to that end, I do have to say, next Wednesday, y'all. So we're doing Taste of Wisconsin, but it got pushed back a week due to when the trucks land. So this next Wednesday is super cool as well. We're doing all Best of Show winners at the American Cheese Society. And John, I just announced today that he and I are going to be black tie. Now, I'm not sure that I can currently dress up any of my previous black tie gowns, but at least from the front forward, you will have on your tuck suit. Yes.
Oh, no, the whole thing?
Yes, we're going to dress it up. It's going to be hard to eat this cheese plate. So if you want to join us next week and just have a reason to get dressed up or sit in your pajamas and laugh at how we're dressed up, but eat one cheese, I almost for a fact know that nobody else in the United States has it right now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We have it, and it's multi-time best of show winner.
And it's tasting fantastic.
So anyway, next week is going to be a really good one. And then we're going to do Taste of Wisconsin. But you also just secured today for next Saturday, we're doing a different style event, which is behind the scenes. And it's just John basically interviewing a cheesemaker. How's life for them? How's it been? But they are like walking in the pastures with sheep and have their hands in a vat of milk. So that's coming up with Green Dirt Farm. If you like sheep milk cheeses, this will be our first one with them, and that'll be not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Okay, that was a tangent from Improve Every Day. Let us know how we can do better. 2, Passion with Purpose.
Passion with Purpose. This is really how we got into the business. Yeah, Kendall's like, stop looking at the chat window. I just have so many hearts.
We can chat afterwards.
There's so many hearts. Passion with Purpose. Passion is what gives you fuel, and purpose gives you direction. And so that's the way we operate. If we're going to spend this much time at work doing this kind of work, having this kind of experience, we want it to be moving towards something that's very purposeful. And especially when you start a small business, if you don't have passion around it, there's so many roadblocks, there's so many speed bumps, there's so many things that get in your way that you won't have enough energy to get over each one of them. And we truly believe that whatever you're doing, you can find passion in it and you can find purpose in it. You just might have to look hard or be challenged to it. But if not, it's probably not worth doing. Then family first, then business.
However you define family, however that looks in your life, we all go to work to pay for our own basic needs of food in our stomach, our health care, and a roof over our heads, and of those people that we love. So whatever that looks like for you, that's what you're supporting when you support our business. Yeah. Be true to yourself, to others. And that is our ethics. That's our integrity. Sort of everything is easier when you're just honest with yourself. It means saying when we don't know what we don't know, freaking antihistamines. There we go. Got it. But being honest with ourselves, it also means for us and our team showing up as our real self and who we are. And we are not perfectly polished people, as you can tell, but people living their true authentic selves and getting to be who they are at our work site is most important to us.
And last, be a juggernaut of awesome.
It's not good enough to just be awesome. We need you to be an overwhelming force of awesome. So what is your positive impact? How are you? I told my kids every day, I don't care what they do in life, as long as they are positively contributing to our community. So we hope that we are doing that for you tonight. John and I are on a personal mission to spread joy, and we just get to do it through cheese. So thank you, though, whether you know it or not, you are giving energy back to us tonight, energy to keep going, energy to not feel alone and depressed in these times of social distancing, and stay safe. We're personally choosing to stay safe or stay indoors right now, stay in our quadrant. Yeah. So thank you.
And and to the Ketty, Claire, and Alexandra, who've all been on these over 5 times. At some point, maybe we'll go on a real date. You all have been with us for 6 dates in a row. Thank you. And for those of you that joined for the first time tonight, hopefully we'll get to see you soon too. We can't wait.
Oh, and John just told me right beforehand. I know that was supposed to be the final, and then I was like,
it's yours.
But if you want, our team is doing, what's the new class? Edible flowers and cheese class. And I haven't even announced it on social yet or in our newsletter. And it only has 10 seats left, I think you said.
Something like that.
So I don't know what it's going to be like or what we're going to do, but we're doing our first ever edible flowers and cheese class. So if that sounds exciting to you, go support our team and take that one as well. All right. Cheers to you, Austin. Cheers to all the people who are supporting your favorite local businesses. And thank you. Thanks for letting us keep going. And thanks for letting us do what we love.
Thanks, y'all. Have an awesome night.
Cheers.
Woo.